For us here at Bloomberg, and we stay in the healthcare space and turn more, to what we would call, more of the discretionary side of it, the GLP-1 craze. It's been a boon for the industry. And a new report out by XRC Ventures finds that drugs like Ozempic, like Wegovy, they're fueling a market that's projected to hit more than $150 billion by 2030. One of the people behind that report joins us right now, Diana Melencio, general partner for XRC Ventures Brand Capital Fund. Diana, great to have you here on the program. And I want to start off with some of the, downstream effects of the GLP-1 craze. We've talked a lot on this show about the idea that with more and more people on these drugs, that, of course, changes the dynamics for what people eat, what people buy, and that, of course, changes what you invest in. And I am curious as to how it's changed for you and the other folks over at XRC.
Yeah, well, we think the downstream impacts of GLP-1 represents a huge opportunity. You think about the 1 in 8 adults that have already tried the GLP-1 drugs, and we are expecting that to double over the course of the next 5 years. There's 34 million U.S. adults that have diabetes. 40% of U.S. adults classify under the clinical term as obese. And so we think that as these people who require these drugs in order to maintain a weight that they've never been able to sustain naturally, will need these drugs for the rest of their lives. And the downstream impacts of that are nutrient gaps in protein, fiber, electrolytes.
Yeah.
And that's really where we as a fund have deployed capital into, which is sort of the vitamins, minerals, and supplements that fill those gaps.
And we've seen already a lot of M&A activity, and I'm glad you bring that up because one of my coworkers is now recently on the drug, and he won't stop talking about it. But he also talks a lot about how he needs more protein, needs more fiber. We've seen, of course, Pepsi looking to acquire Poppy, Danone acquiring Kate Farms, and a few other, what you call wellness type acquisitions in the food space.
Yes, we think that there's a big opportunity in better for you foods. And you hear that with how the retailers are talking about expanding their aisles for foods that are sort of, a healthier version of impulse foods that are losing share of wallet, such as soft drinks, snacks, and they're being replaced with, these protein bars that are meeting these nutrient gaps.
Well, let's also talk a little bit about beauty, because I'm taking a look at your report. You make mention of Ozempic face. In some ways, these terms have become memes, and you certainly see that on social media. But from where you're sitting, is there an investable opportunity there when it comes to maybe some of the lifestyle and beauty categories?
So specific to Ozempic face, we think that's more a surgical opportunity. Potentially there's capital to be deployed on the private equity side with regards to dermatology clinics. But from a venture capital perspective, we're most interested in high replenishment, high gross margin businesses such as vitamins, mineral supplements, potentially beauty and personal care products. We've seen some products that make claims of, having greater volume and increasing collagen production in your face, but that's not been clinically proven or run enough clinical tests to make those kind of claims. So I think for now, we're on the sidelines as it pertains to beauty product investments.
Yeah, definitely makes sense there. Retinol won't help you with Ozempic face.
No, they won't.
No, I do want to talk a little bit about, what staying power this has. You mentioned some of the stats. 1 in 8 U.S. adults have already tried GLP-1s, but you have to couch every conversation in sort of the general economic backdrop. And we have seen consumers pull back. Romaine perhaps made the joke that this seems more discretionary when it comes to other health categories, but what's your view there? Do you think that the folks who are trying this and who are maybe making use of the downstream effects here, does this fall into the discretionary category that could be cut if things truly take a turn for the worse in the economy?
Well, if you think about the people that maybe are not classified as diabetic or obese, celebrities. I think I saw earlier in the segment that you highlighted some controversy around Serena Williams and her use or promotion of the company Roe. So there is a visible use of the drug by these celebrities, these influencers. So in that way, it's discretionary. A lot of those 1 in 8 adults do not fall under the classification of diabetic or nor obese. And I think that the use of that from a vanity perspective will only increase, and potentially that's more reflective of a higher income population than those that are currently than those that are more income constrained.
I do want to ask you real quick, Diana, just about some of the metrics that you're seeing that obviously you use there at XRC, but other VCs use with regards to some of these companies that are capitalizing on this. And something that was in the report was this idea of the repurchase rate and a minimum,
Yes.
I guess, 30% threshold, I guess, is what folks like you look for here. But I am curious, when you look at nutrition and wellness trends of the past, these sometimes seem to be fleeting. So what gives you the confidence that that 30% rate would be met, and more importantly, maybe even a threshold that could even be higher?
Well, currently, most GLP-1 users are seeing some form of side effects. And if you take their labs, they do have muscle loss. They do have less fiber. They need electrolyte supplementation. And so we invested in a company, for example, called Soel Health. That is a monthly supplement that you would take daily. And because these GLP-1 users need to use this for the rest of their life, we see that as the opportunity. You're replenishing these products on a monthly basis. Unless the technology gets better within these drugs where those side effects subside, or people that take these drugs dramatically change the way they live their lives. If you think about people taking these drugs, at least those that are diabetic or obese, they're not changing their diet necessarily. They're still eating the steak. They're just eating less of it. They're still eating the French fries. They're just eating less of it. And so it's not like you're on these drugs and then all of a sudden you have a craving for kale salads and protein shakes. You're just consuming less, therefore you have less of certain nutrients that your body requires to be healthy and to feel good. And so for that reason, if you are taking these drugs, you will then need to take these supplements in order to feel okay.
All right, Diana, got to leave it there. Fascinating conversation. That is Diana Melencio. She is general partner for the XRC Ventures Brand Capital Fund.